In 1931, a Nebraska widow named Mary Olson fed 6 children on $4 a week. Every scrap of fat was saved, every pinch of flour was sifted twice, and not a single penny went to waste. In her kitchen, nothing was thrown away, because nothing could be. That kitchen was a workshop of thrift, stocked with tools designed to stretch resources to their limit. Today, we've forgotten most of them, but in this video, we'll uncover 30 items that were once as common as a salt cellar, and that our grandmothers relied on to keep their families fed, clothed, and solvent. Number 24 could pay for itself in a single winter if you knew how to use it. These were not decorations. They were survival tools, each one honed by necessity, each one designed to save a dime or a cup of flour. And yet, one by one, they vanished from our cupboards, replaced by disposables, by convenience, by the very prosperity they helped build. Let's open that roll-top bread box and take a look inside. Number 1, a lidded bacon grease tin. No Depression-era kitchen was without one, a humble metal can, often painted white with a simple lid, sitting beside the stove. Every time bacon was fried, the hot fat was carefully poured into that tin through a strainer, saved for tomorrow's cornbread or to season green beans. Nothing was wasted. By the 1960s, doctors warned against saturated fats. Suddenly, saving bacon grease seemed unsanitary, even dangerous. Tin gave way to Tupperware, then to nothing at all. The habit of thrift, once a virtue, came to be seen as old-fashioned. Number 2, the hand-crank flour sifter. Before pre-sifted flour became common, every grandmother sifted her own. A sturdy metal can with a wire mesh screen inside, turned by a crank on top. You'd scoop flour in, turn the handle, and watch it fall like snow into the bowl, aerating it for lighter cakes and biscuits. By the 1960s, commercial mills started selling flour already sifted and bleached. Home sifting felt like unnecessary work, an extra step that convenience had edged out. The tool gathered dust in the back of the cupboard, then vanished. Today, instantized flour needs no sifting at all. Number 3, a black cast iron skillet. Grandmothers never washed theirs with soap, only a scrape, a rinse, and a wipe with salt. They built up a seasoning over decades, a non-stick surface that made cornbread crusty and fried chicken golden. That skillet was an heirloom, passed down for the way it held heat and memory. Why did it fade? Not because it stopped working, but because the factory era gave us cheap, lightweight aluminum pans that didn't require patience. A new bride in the 1950s often chose a bright, modern aluminum set over a heavy black skillet that asked for care. The old skillet became a relic of a slower time. Number 4, a roll-top bread box. Before plastic bags, bread went stale in hours. Grandmother kept hers in a metal box with a rolling tambour door, cool, dark, and airtight. Into the 1960s, factory bread came soft, and the bread box seemed fussy. People just tucked the wrapper and forgot the ritual. Number 5, a wooden rolling pin. Grandmothers would dust their pastry board with flour, then roll the dough in smooth, firm strokes until it was paper thin. They could feel the right thickness through their fingertips. As silicone and non-stick materials entered kitchens, the wooden rolling pin was seen as old-fashioned. Young homemakers preferred the sleek, new rolling pins that didn't require flour and could be washed clean. Number 6, a stoneware pickle crock. Grandmothers fermented cucumbers in brine, waited with a plate, for months of sour pickles. But after World War II, home refrigeration and mass-produced jarred pickles made the crock a relic. No one wanted to tend a bubbling crock for weeks when they could buy a crisp dill at the grocery store. Number 7, a hand-crank coffee mill. Before vacuum-packed grounds became the norm, grandmothers kept whole beans in a tin and turned this little mill only when a pot was needed. Its steel burrs cracked the beans, and the drawer below caught a small, fragrant pile of fresh grounds. By the 1960s, pre-ground coffee in sealed cans and electric grinders made the hand mill feel slow. The old crank and its little drawer were put away, even though the fresh smell it gave a kitchen was hard to replace. Number 8. A collapsible wire food dome. Before plastic wrap and Tupperware, grandmothers used this mesh bell to keep flies and dust off pies, cakes, and fresh bread cooling on the counter. It was lightweight, easy to store flat, and let air circulate so baked goods stayed crisp. As factory-made plastic wrap and reusable containers became cheap in the 1950s, the wire dome was pushed aside. It was seen as old-fashioned and inconvenient, easier to toss a sheet of cling film over a bowl than dig the dome out of a drawer. Number 9. A bib apron with deep pockets. Grandmothers wore these not just to keep flour off their Sunday dress, but as a wearable tool belt. Eggs, salt cellar, a paring knife, all found their way into those roomy pockets. The convenience of carrying everything at hand was lost when kitchen counters became clutter-free and stainless steel. The apron now signifies old-fashioned domesticity, and those pockets vanished along with the idea that a cook needed tools always within reach. Number 10. A ball of kitchen twine. Grandmothers kept it in a drawer or hung from a nail, always ready to truss a chicken, tie a roast, or bundle herbs. It faded because plastic zip ties and silicone cooking bands offered faster, cleaner fastening. Twine took skill to knot and could fray. Modern cheap disposability won. Number 11. The hand crank egg beater. Before electric mixers, this simple tool turned air into volume. You'd clamp it over a bowl, turn the geared crank, and its wire whisks spun fast enough to whip cream or beat eggs stiff in minutes. But as electric mixers dropped in price after World War II, that brisk manual workout fell out of fashion. Why crank when a motor could do it while you did something else? Speed and ease edged the hand crank beater out, turning it into a relic. Number 12. A round metal biscuit tin. These tins, often decorated with floral patterns or pastoral scenes, were prized for keeping crackers and cookies crisp. When sealed, they kept out humidity and pests far better than today's plastic bags. But as the mid-century boom made packaged foods ubiquitous, the all-purpose tin faded. Manufacturers found it cheaper to deliver biscuits in printed cardboard, and home cooks stopped saving the tins. The round metal biscuit tin, once a kitchen essential, became a curio. Number 13. The covered enamel salt box. In grandmother's kitchen, salt was kept dry and close at hand, not in a cardboard shaker, but in a stout little canister with a tight-fitting lid. The enamel coating, usually white with a blue rim, kept moisture out and the salt pouring freely. Why did it disappear? Modern salt containers, paper cartons with pour spouts, plastic shakers, were cheaper to produce and took up less shelf space. The enamel box, though charming, was heavier and more expensive. It simply fell out of fashion, edged out by convenience and lower cost. Number 14. A glass butter dish with a cow lid. In Depression-era kitchens, butter came in bulk, not sticks. This whimsical dish kept a pat fresh and covered. The lid, shaped like a reclining cow, was a small luxury, a touch of farm charm on the table. But as butter sticks wrapped in paper became standard, the dish seemed fussy. Children broke the fragile cow lids. Manufacturers stopped making them. The charm faded into the past, replaced by plain plastic tubs that hold nothing of memory. Number 15. A wooden potato masher. Grandmothers used this simple tool to turn boiled potatoes into creamy mash by hand, a rhythmic pressing that took minutes of steady work. By the 1950s, electric mixers and instant potato flakes made hand mashing seem old-fashioned and slow. The wooden masher grew dusty, quietly replaced by convenience. Number 16. A blue-speckled enamel colander. Grandmothers used it for everything, draining canned peaches, rinsing homegrown beans, pressing the last drops from a dish rag. Its flecked surface hid stains, and the sturdy wire handles made it easy to carry from sink to table. But by the 1970s, lightweight plastic colanders had taken over. They were cheaper, unbreakable, and came in cheerful colors. The heavy blue-speckled enamel suddenly seemed old-fashioned, too prone to chipping. One by one, those faithful strainers ended up at the dump. Number 17, a hinged nutmeg grater. Grandmother would buy whole nutmegs, hard as little stones, and grate them fresh over her custard or eggnog with a tiny steel rasp that folded shut like a pocket comb. The scent was irreplaceable, warm, woody, and faintly sweet, nothing like the stale dust in a tin. Why did it vanish? Pre-ground nutmeg arrived in cans, cheaper, and infinitely faster. The hinged grater seemed fussy, one more thing to wash, one more step. Yet that canned powder loses its soul in weeks. What was once a daily pleasure became a forgotten relic in the back of a drawer. Number 18, a stovetop coffee percolator. In grandmother's kitchen, morning began with the gentle perk of coffee bubbling through a glass knob on the stovetop. She'd fill the basket with fresh grounds, set the pot on a low flame, and let it perk for exactly 8 minutes. Longer meant bitter. The result was a strong, clear brew that filled the house with an aroma no drip machine has matched. Why it faded? Automatic drip coffee makers arrived in the 1970s, promising convenience, no watching a pot, no risk of boiling bitter. Percolators were gradually seen as old-fashioned, a fussy ritual in a fast-paced world. By the 1980s, they'd all but vanished from American counters, replaced by sleek machines that delivered a decent cup with the push of a button. Number 19, a claw-style can opener. This was the everyday tool before the turning wheel opener took over. You would jam the pointed claw into the lid, then rock it back and forth, prying up a series of metal flaps until the lid came free. But as kitchens modernized, the claw style fell out of favor. The ragged edge it left on the lid was a hazard, and the new smooth edge can opener was faster and safer. Convenience and fewer cut fingers edged it out. Number 20, a cotton dish mop. Grandmother kept this simple tool beside the sink to scrub plates clean without scratching her good china. The mop's long wooden handle saved her hands from ever touching greasy dishwater. But as synthetic sponges and nylon scrubbers hit the market in the 1950s, the dish mop fell out of fashion. They were cheap, disposable, and more aggressively abrasive. So grandmother's durable cotton mop quietly disappeared from American kitchens. Number 21, the aluminum ice cube tray with lever. Before automatic ice makers, this was the standard. You filled the tray with water, placed it in the freezer, and after the cubes froze, a sharp pull on the lever cracked the ice loose, a satisfying, if clattery, process. But by the 1960s, plastic ice trays and automatic dispensers offered silent, effortless convenience. The aluminum tray, with its stiff lever and occasional sticking, was suddenly old-fashioned. As freezers improved, the humble tray quietly disappeared. Number 22, a cast-iron stove trivet. This sturdy ring sat directly on the burner, lifting pots just enough to prevent scorching and allow simmering for hours without using extra fuel. They vanished as electric and glass ceramic cooktops became standard. These trivets scratched or cracked the new surfaces, and most cooks simply turned the heat down instead. Number 23, a manual food chopper. A simple cast iron or wooden device with a curved blade that you rocked back and forth in a bowl to mince vegetables, herbs, or even cooked meat quickly and evenly. It gave you perfect control over texture, from coarse to fine. But it vanished as electric food processors arrived, and as home cooks decided that peeling an onion was less effort than washing a chopper. Number 24, the clamp-on meat grinder. Cast iron fitted with a hand crank, grandmothers bolted it to any table edge, countertops were rare. Into the hopper went leftover roasts and tough cuts, emerging from the die as fresh ground meat for hash, patties, or sausage. That is the promise from the beginning. A clamp-on meat grinder could pay for itself in a single winter. Grandmother bought inexpensive tough cuts, trimmings, or leftover roast, then ground them at home for hash, patties, and meatloaf, stretching the meat budget into several meals. When supermarket ground beef and electric appliances made the work seem inconvenient, the heavy crank grinder was pushed aside, but its savings were real. Number 25. A glass cake carrier with dome. Grandmother would tote her famous layer cake to church suppers beneath this heavy glass bell, its handle a sturdy loop of wire or glass. The dome kept the frosting safe from flies and curious fingers, while the glass let everyone glimpse the treat within. But plastic storage containers arrived, cheap, stackable, unbreakable, and the heavy glass carrier became a relic. Nobody wanted to lug that fragile dome to a potluck when a snap-lid tub was lighter. So it faded, not because it failed, but because convenience edged it out. Number 26. A wooden butter mold. Before refrigerators were common, butter was often homemade and pressed into carved wooden molds to shape it into a neat 1-pound block, often with a decorative design like a sheaf of wheat. The butter mold ensured both consistent weight and a pleasant presentation. But as factory-produced butter became cheap and standardized, and refrigerators kept it firm, the need for molding faded. The wooden mold, once a kitchen staple, became a dusty antique. Number 27. The glass lemon reamer. Before electric juicers became commonplace, this ridged glass cone was the standard tool for extracting fresh citrus juice. A grandmother would simply cut a lemon in half, press it onto the reamer, and twist. The juice would run down into a small well or directly into a bowl. But as citrus juice became a year-round commodity in cartons, and electric juicers promised speed and less arm strain, the humble reamer was quietly relegated to the back of the drawer. Today, few kitchens keep one. It's seen as a relic of a time when every drop of juice had to be earned by hand. Number 28. A tin cookie press with discs. Grandmothers used these to produce perfectly uniform spritz cookies for holidays and church bazaars. A simple twist of the plunger extruded dough through decorative metal discs, creating stars, trees, and flowers in seconds. The press faded as refrigerated cookie dough rolls arrived, offering instant satisfaction without cleanup. By the 1970s, the tin press was exiled to garage sales, edged out by convenience. Number 29. A lidded sugar bowl. Every grandmother kept one on the table, a small ceramic or glass pot with a tight-fitting lid and a tiny spoon. The lid kept out dust, moisture, and insects, a simple, cheap necessity. But as packaged sugar was replaced by airtight plastic containers sold at the grocery, the lidded sugar bowl felt old-fashioned, and the handcrafted ones were edged out by cheaper factory alternatives. Number 30. A freestanding oven thermometer. Grandmothers placed it right on the rack, trusting its thin mercury column more than the dial on the range. It was the only way to know the true temperature. Ovens then ran 50 degrees off, and a failed cake wasted precious rations. Why did it vanish? Modern ovens became far more reliable, with built-in thermostats and digital displays. The freestanding thermometer was edged out by convenience, one less gadget to clean, one less step. Still, no grandmother would have trusted her cornbread to an unverified heat. So there you have it, 30 kitchen companions that our grandmothers kept close at hand, each one a quiet tool of self-reliance. These items weren't just utensils. They were the physical evidence of a life lived debt-free, where thrift wasn't a hashtag, but a necessity. The bacon grease saved in a tin, the flour sifted by hand, the bread kept in a roll-top box to prevent waste. These were small acts against a backdrop of scarcity. And yet, they built a legacy of resilience. Most of these objects have faded from our kitchens, edged out by cheaper factory products, or seen as old-fashioned in a culture that prizes speed over patience. But the wisdom they represent, that doesn't have to fade. If your grandmother had a favorite kitchen tool, or if you remember a trick she used to stretch $1, we'd love to hear it in the comments. These stories are worth preserving, and if you'd like to keep this spirit of resourcefulness alive, consider subscribing, because the best lessons from the past are still worth learning today.